These three hunter exotics are going to dominate PvP in 2024. They are some of my favorites, and in a world of change that is Destiny 2, I believe they're going to only increase in relevance as time goes on. And I'm going to explain why. Unless, of course, they get nerfed into the dirt. Then that'll be awkward, won't it? I don't think that's gonna happen. Let's run through why real quick. If there's one thing you can count on in Destiny's PvP, it's change. Metas and development goals shift over time, and somehow after a decade, Bungie still hasn't decided if Destiny should be a guns, then abilities game, or magic and guns kind of game. You know what I'm saying? Every few months, it feels like the game goes through a significant rebalance and tuning of abilities and regeneration, all that stuff. There's a renewed focus on gunplay, whatever. And then months later, we find ourselves in the same place with overtuned abilities, fast regen speed, all that stuff. Just look back on Beyond Light. That releases, it's a disaster. It takes a few months to sort the abilities out there. Stasis was a monster. Then comes 30th anniversary, major tuning to reduce abilities across the board, and then somehow halfway through that year, it feels like nothing's changed and our abilities are as strong as ever. Then, of course, 30th anniversary is shortly followed up by Witch Queen. That debuts subclass 3.0. We got more of those throughout the year, and that was a much needed, really nice refresh. But again, took us to another level of power in both PvP and PvE, and well, where does that leave us in the cycle now? It's 2024, and we're lab rats again. Checkmate control, checkmate trials, checkmate content. Week after week, we get one form or another of checkmate. Why? So Bungie can gather the data and feedback that they're looking for so they can tune back the abilities. Every TWAB, it feels like, has a big wall of text about how checkmate's being balanced, archetypes are being adjusted, whatever. My point is, it's happening again. Bungie does not take this much time and work to balance and adjust a game mode just so they can forget it in the oven and let it burn. My wager is that before you know it, checkmate control is just going to be called control, and some form of these changes are going to be the new norm. So the outlook for the future is probably going to be reduced abilities, special ammo shakeup, primary and neutral game is going to be more important, that kind of stuff. So finally, we're getting to the point of today's video, and we're going to be covering 3 hunter exotics that I am a huge fan of. They're incredibly potent already and will only get better as the meta shifts throughout 2024. Although, seeing as we're not getting any content until June, I guess we're safe for a while. Historically, Bungie has kind of left these 3 exotics alone. Compared to other exotics, they haven't been changed nearly as much, and that's kind of why I have some confidence. They're in a good place now, they're potent, but they're not ridiculous. To the point that I think they're going to stay the same for a while. First up is Knucklehead Radar. Yeah, an exotic my viewers should be pretty familiar with already. It seemed only right to recycle content since, I'm covering Destiny. Knucklehead Radar has been around for a long time. For some of you watching, it's older than you are, coming in at around 9.5 years old. As old as it is, I honestly don't think it's ever been in the meta once. Seriously, there's always been something else to outshine it. Radar while aiming down sights is nice, but certainly not game-changing or meta-defining. I think we're all pretty aware that Destiny PvP players never really settle for anything less than the sweatiest. Seriously though, I get teabagged for using off-meta weapons. What's wrong with you guys? As many of you probably already know, Knucklehead Radar took a trip recently to the exotic rework factory. Since it came off the conveyor belt, retooled and ready to go, Knucklehead has been one of my absolute favorite exotics. Now we have the enhanced radar of Knucklehead Radar with the old tracking capabilities of Foe Tracer. The result of that is a complete package of sensor upgrades. And that's kind of the fun part about Knucklehead Radar. It's just, I feel like it lets me lean into the hunter fantasy of tracking, hunting, outmaneuvering, all because of this little red X. Those of you who watch my Crimson Radar video know just how much I love this thing, but I'm going to talk about it again. You don't have to try. You glance at your opponent, that little red X is there, it's going to track them, it's ready to go. It stays on your opponent for quite some time too. It's going to make it easier to flank your opponents, you know right where they are, maybe pre-fire your primary just a few precious milliseconds early, or maybe even line up that perfect snipe before they even see that ghastly red glint. Sometimes when I use Knucklehead Radar, I start to feel bad for my opponent because I just know they're wondering how I could have been so quick. How did he know when and where I was peaking immediately? It's not that I'm a twitchy streamer with 6 gallons of G Fuel running through me and the reaction time of a cheetah. It's because I'm a regular streamer with Red Bull propping me up and a super handy little assistant that tells me exactly where my enemy is. And then for the times you can't actually see your opponent, you gain enhanced radar while crouched and also keep your radar while ADS on anyway. You might think this trait's only useful for campy players or laning Larrys, but the more information you have at all times, the better off you'll be. It never hurts. Even if you're holding down a lane for 1 to 2 seconds with a sniper, or your mid-duel with a primary, that's 1 to 2 seconds you wouldn't have had your sensors online. It's not that this functionality on its own is incredible. It's the conglomeration of the tracking, the ADS radar, and the enhanced radar, which is really another great feature too. Just giving it a quick crouch doubles your radar resolution, and you can give it a much clearer picture of where your enemy is coming from. I can't say enough about this exotic, and as much as I want to go on and on, we gotta move on. Putting all the pieces together, it makes for a really powerful exotic that hunters can use in PvP. PvP now, and in the future when we have slower recharging abilities to work with, it's going to be present in the neutral game at all times. It's only going to be more and more useful as time goes on. Next up is Stompies. Oh man, Cobalt, what a controversial take. I know, I get it. But I wanted to talk about this exotic again because it too has seen a decent amount of change over the last year or so. Reading patch notes personally isn't very exciting. I have a lot of other things I'd rather do, and it can be easy to miss those changes. For years, Stompies was unchanged, until eventually the outcry of people who couldn't look up became so great that Bungie decided to nerf it. The change they implemented was frankly awful, allowing you to only take advantage of the movement boost when you had full ability energy. Pretty nasty stuff. Dodging is often a life-saving measure in the Crucible, but that resulted in the complete negation of your exotic for at least a good 10 seconds, leaving you kind of hamstrung. It just didn't feel good, and Bungie must have thought so as well, because now they changed it back. Stompies are closer to what they once were. Movement boost is now permanent once again, and we even have a tiny little bit of damage resist while airborne as well, although for PvP it's pretty minimal. The catch is that they reduced the bonuses a little bit, so you're not quite as fast as you used to be. That said, Stompies is still well worth your time. The slide bonus is substantial, really helps your ability to either close the gap or escape. Strafe speed increase is always nice for dueling, sprinting doesn't feel slow, and when it comes to an exotic like Stompies, there's really no numbers, no comparison chart that I can write up as to why it's better than fill in the blank. Stompies are just kind of more of a feel. If you don't feel like you need them, well, don't use them, but it just never hurts to be faster. It's invaluable in trials, control, you name it. Speed is just going to help you outmaneuver, secure heavy ammo, reach your allies' res faster, or just run like heck because somehow it's already 3v1 and you're out of options. Stompies were a long-time classic and a favorite among PvP enjoyers, and for good reason, and while they're not 100% of what they used to be, I wanted to talk about them again just to make sure people remembered the worst of the nerfs did get changed back. Stompies are, again, very usable. And again, in the coming meta of what I believe is going to be reduced abilities, base gameplay elements like primary dueling, movement is just going to be more and more important. Third exotic on the day is one that might surprise you, might not. This seems like one of those cult following exotics where people are either obsessed with it or completely forgot it existed. It's Lucky Pants. Lucky Pants have come a long way since their release in vanilla Destiny 2 and are a relevant choice even in endgame PvE as an alternate damage option. But today we're honing in on PvP. What about there? The biggest benefit of Lucky Pants in PvP is easily the illegally modded holster buff that grants increased accuracy to hand cannons as well as a little extra AE. You can activate the buff anytime you switch to a hand cannon, and it lasts for a solid 4 seconds, which is more than long enough to land a kill if you tee it up right. The buff activates when swapping hand cannons and lasts a solid 4 seconds each time. The buff also really has no cooldown either, so anytime you switch you're gonna get that 4 seconds, activates every time you swap. So generally what you want to do is just kind of run around, wait till you see someone on your sensors right before you duck out of cover, switch to your hand cannon, go to town. The damage boost isn't really, from my experience, why you use Lucky Pants in PvP. You use Lucky Pants because it makes every shot with hand cannons feel like opening shots. Seriously, Lucky Pants had me thinking the Judgment hand cannon from Prophecy was worth farming for. I was absolutely popping off with it one night on stream a few months ago. Turns out I just kind of forgot I had Lucky Pants on. You could be using the most garbage blue hand cannon, and Lucky Pants is gonna finka boost the accuracy on that gun so hard, if you know you know, that you'll actually be convinced you could go flawless someday. Biggest problem you're gonna worry about is Bungie false banning you because salty losers are gonna be reporting you for cheating. Now that they have like no cheat prevention staff, I mean, who knows, man? In a world of renewed focus on gunplay, reduced abilities, all that stuff that I'm seeing in Checkmate modes, having a strong primary is gonna be essential. And to me, Lucky Pants fast tracks any hand cannon into minimum A tier with that accuracy boost. It makes bad hand cannons good, but if you combine it with a good hand cannon, fill in the blank. Hawkmoon, Ias Luna, Palindrome, Igneous Hammer, whatever hand cannon you enjoy is going to be absolutely fantastic. I've never been an avid hand cannon user. Typically, I struggle to land those consistent 3-taps with 120s and 140s, but Lucky Pants just makes my life a lot easier and regularly convinces me I can actually use hand cannons. It also solves the issue of poor handling, as it just cranks out the handling meter. When it says hand cannons draw more quickly, that is no joke. And that's awesome, because then I can really customize my hand cannon the way I want to. I can spec into more stability or increased range if that's an issue. I've got a combined action that I like to use here and there with tunnel vision and kill clip. It's a total beast, but it also has 23 handling. Lucky Pants makes that a non-issue. There's no downtime. It's not tied to abilities. Lucky Pants is just a flat buff. It's going to improve your odds of surviving an encounter by helping you to land your shots and be able to respond more quickly and accurately. It's really all you can ask for at the end of the day. Knucklehead Radar, Stompies, Lucky Pants, they're all definitely going to be part of my kit as we get further into 2024. And I think they're going to be increasingly more relevant as the meta shifts, or doesn't shift. What about you though? What are your go-to exotics for Titan and Warlock in PvP? I'm a Hunter main. I don't really have time to play the other three as much as I want to, so I'm always curious to hear what the other 2/3 of you are up to. Anyhow, if you enjoyed this video, definitely subscribe. I make Destiny videos and also stream trials on most weekends. If you want to hang out with our little group, we also have a Discord, so you can join that, linked in the description. And if you'd be so kind, don't forget to give me a bump in the algorithm with a like on the way out. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next one.